Tests for the nation's security architecture as gunmen kidnap 19 persons, kill clergyman in Niger State. And as a mission to rescue the abducted schoolboys in Kankara, Katsina State enters day 3, we'll hear firsthand from the Defense Ministry on just how close we are to getting the students back home. Hello and welcome. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Kayode Okikelu. It's the third day after gunmen kidnapped students at the Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, in Katsina State. And at this point, 333 students remain missing, just as the government says it is intensifying efforts to rescue all the abducted students. Well, earlier today, President Muhammadu Buhari, who is in Dora, about a 3-hour drive from where the attack took place, received a briefing on the ongoing mission from the Katsina State Governor, Aminu Masari. The governor revealed that contact has been made with the abductors of the students, and discussions are currently ongoing to ensure their safe return. Well, we'll be bringing you some exclusive insight into the attack and the rescue operation on the program tonight. Well, that's in a moment. So while the rescue operation was going on in Katsina State, and just when we thought the nation's security agencies had enough on their hands, gunmen suspected to be kidnappers killed a clergyman and kidnapped 19 persons in Niger State. Well, the kidnapping, which occurred in Ogo and Tegina communities of Rafi local government area, was confirmed by the Chief of Staff to the local government chairman, Mohammed. In Ogo community, residents said the attackers stormed the area on Sunday morning and abducted 6 people, while the attack in Tegina was said to have happened early this morning, with 16 persons said to have been kidnapped. Meanwhile, a pastor with the Evangelical Church Winning All, ECWA, was also reported killed by gunmen in Chukuba community of Shiroro local government area of the state. And with this renewed attack and kidnappings, comes the renewed call for improvement in the nation's security structure. Well, that will form a major part of our discussion with the Defense Ministry also tonight. But first, let's take a look at stories making rounds on the political scene. Here's our political roundup.
Hoodlums suspected to be hired thugs on Monday disrupted a planned conference organized by the coalition of northern groups over the rising insecurity in the region. The hoodlums invaded the popular Arewa House, venue of the press conference, few minutes before the event could kick off, and attacked the organizers of the security conference. They also destroyed chairs, tables, and also smashed windscreens of vehicles parked within the premises. Condemning the attack and disruption of the conference by the hoodlums, the national coordinator of Coalition of Northern Groups, Balarabe Rufai, describes the hoodlums as enemies of the North, vowing that no amount of attack or threat will stop the coalition from speaking out against the rising security challenges in the North.
Whoever is behind this attack is an enemy of the North, is an enemy of Nigeria.
Chief Justice Ibrahim Mohammed is warning against disobedience to court orders, as he insists that obedience to lawful court orders has no alternative in any sane society. Speaking at the opening of the 2020-2021 legal year and conferment of the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria on 72 lawyers in Abuja, the Chief Justice, who was represented by Justice Olabode Rhodes-Vivor, says acts of disobedience to court orders will no longer be tolerated. And after an emphatic victory, which saw the All Progressives Congress Party recording a clean sweep at the just concluded local government elections in all the 21 local government areas, the 21 elected local government chairmen were sworn in today at Lokoja, the state capital, by the Kogi State Governor, Governor Yahaya Bello. At the swearing-in ceremony, Governor Bello reminded them of the need to deliver the promise of the party to the people of Kogi State and to also fast-track development at the grassroots level.
So let's get into our conversation tonight. The issue of security needs no preambles, needs no introduction rather, because it's something you and I can relate to. And speaking to us on the program is Major General John Enenche, Coordinator, Defense Media Operations at Defense Headquarters. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on Politics today. I imagine you have a lot on your hands, so we appreciate the fact that you can join us to help shed some light on some of these issues. First, Nigerians would really like to know if there's been any progress whatsoever regarding the rescue operation of those students of the school in Kankara, Katsina State. So let's begin from there. Do we have any good news?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on this program. I will say that there is a news encouraging in the sense that the Honorable Minister of Defense led a delegation comprising the National Security Advisor and the service chiefs and other heads of security agencies. My humble self, I was in the entourage, and we were in Katsina yesterday. And we were adequately briefed about several issues pertaining to that incident. The briefing was done by the officers we had on the ground, the agents we had on the ground, of what they did up till yesterday at about 2 p.m. And from what we deduced from their actions is that there is hope that if the momentum that they started from early hours of Saturday morning is maintained, of which they will, then the children will be rescued. So that is a good news, but the details will not be in the interest of the children, wherever they are now, for it to be disclosed on the air. But the good news is that we got a briefing, and then the troops and other security agencies are adequately and efficiently deployed to ensure that they are rescued alive. That is the most important for us. And that is what we have for the general public, that there is hope. And the hope is being placed on the fact that we need them out alive.
Right. I guess I'll be speaking for a lot of Nigerians by saying that we are definitely in support of the military and other security agencies in this rescue operation, and we definitely wish you the very best. But just before I introduced you, we referred to the statements made by the governor saying contact has been made with the bandits. So if discussions are ongoing with the bandits, does that mean the military and other security agencies are withdrawing so that discussions can continue?
Well, as it is usual, and the practice of people, or the people, let me be careful about my choice of word now, because like I always said, anytime we're on the air like this, it's open to all sources, both the people that are doing what we don't like, I'm choosing my words now, and then the people that are doing what we like. So, like I said, you don't stop whatever effort you are putting on militarily for the one we call now the non-kinetic, the other approach. No, you don't stop. All of them go on concurrently to ensure that, for instance, if they are kept in a place and is known, if you relax, they may slip out. So all actions are on the table. Right. To ensure that we come to a meeting point. And the meeting point is to make sure that we don't record, when I say collateral damage, now in the case of trying to get them out using minimum necessary force, that is one. Then at the same time, all are on the table with none pulls out at the expense of the other. It's all stakeholders approach, going by the behavior and the characteristics of people that carry this heinous act out.
You know, I can imagine this. Right, I can imagine the sensitivity of this operation. But if we could just step back a bit, because there's been a lot of accounts, and I'm sure you've seen some of them on and off social media about how it happened, when it happened, how the attackers got in, how they whisked away the students. So if you could just give us an official account, really, of what happened, when it happened. How did the attackers attack the school? How did they overpower security officials, if there were any of them? How did they take the students into the bush? Help us, connect the dots if you can.
Okay, yeah, it's a very good thing to ask. And it's a very good exposition to be given to the public. You are talking about human beings, not animals, that we are abducted. Now, if it was animals, there have been several occasions where our troops will go out and then they will now use animals as human shield, and they ended up killing several of the animals, cattle. The bandits or the thieves will run away, but you see so many of the animals killed, that animals do not really have the same value as human beings. Now we are talking about human beings. So at about 10:45 p.m. on Friday, that is the after-action report we got after the report. They stormed the school on their motorcycles, and there were two policemen at the beat. One was shot dead, then the other one shot wounded, that is still alive. And they went straight to the dormitories, and another group went straight to the staff quarters of these criminals. As they were doing that, they were shooting sporadically, not at any individual. From the account we got from one of the boys that escaped, shooting into the air. That means their aim was to actually go and then abduct human beings, school children, and other people from the premises for the government science secondary school. And as they were doing that, somehow information got to our troops who were on patrol. We have confidence-building patrols, and then we have farm patrols in the whole of that area since the beginning of Operation Katsina that went to Sahel Sanity and Operation Accord. And they were contacted. And they responded and came to the location, I think at about 11:30 to 12 midnight. When they got there, in the process as they were carrying out the action, of course, knowing that if they had to bring aimed direct fire, there is no how we would have been counting dead bodies now and probably dead children. So it was just a way, an issue, it was just an act, a tactic that they would just have to use. And in the process of that, as they were doing that, the abduction, took place. But in the process, what we avoided then in the real sense was to avoid any casualty, particularly for the children.
Right.
And of course, they were using them as human shields.
So at this
point, that was
point,
how that happened. It happened, and then the children were abducted. But the main caution there, the main issue there was that none of the children was killed in the crossfire.
Speaking of the
that
children,
was what happened.
Speaking of the children, how many of them are still missing at this point? And how many of them were abducted? Because those are terms that are being thrown around, missing and abducted. So help us understand the figures now. How many are missing? How many have been abducted?
Okay, how we were able to come up with the figures was what we gathered from the principal. The principal reported that he had 839 in the boarding house, and as at the time they were abducted, shortly after that, some came back, and it was left for about 500 plus that did not return. And then they now got in touch with parents, and also we sent out patrols, the police and other people were patrolling the whole of the general area. And as at 2 p.m. yesterday, the pupils that the students that could not be accounted for, reduced to 333. Out of that 333, before I came into the studio here, one, escaped out of wherever they kept them or they are now. So as we are talking, until I confirm further. Otherwise, officially, as at yesterday, and the figure that was also translated to the, the governor, and he also gave it out, is 333. We had that figure as at 4 p.m. when we were in Katsina. We were in Katsina yesterday, from yesterday up to yesterday night.
Okay.
So as I speak with you,
right,
the figure that we have, let us look at it as 333, because the one that escaped is still being debriefed.
Okay.
Before I came into the studio.
Okay, so we'll touch on some of these other issues in a moment. We're due for our break now, so please stay with us. All right, we'll go on a break, and when we return, we'll talk about some of the issues that have been raised, not just in Katsina, but across the country regarding security. So please join us again. Welcome back, everyone. We're still bringing you exclusive backstory and update on that kidnapping and attack in Kankara, Katsina State. Major General John Enenche, the Coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Defense Headquarters, is still with us on the program. Now, a couple of issues to touch, Major General. First is, a lot of people are still trying to wrap their heads around just how those students were moved from the school into the forest. Were they moved on the motorcycles? Was there a truck? Were they moved on foot? Just how did that happen? Because if you look at 333 students, I mean, the magnitude alone is just alarming. So how did that happen?
Yes, at the onset from the school, they were moved on the motorcycles that they brought. And after a short distance, some of them continued with the motorcycles, others dismounted. And as they dismounted, in short, from one of the, I would say one of the boys that, one of them escaped, among those recovered, that they had to trek long distances. And they trekked until, according to him, he fainted. So they moved on motorcycle, dismounted from the motorcycles, and then trekked. Of course, that is their usual characteristics. Those abductors, those people that usually abduct people, that is their usual characteristics. So it's the same system, the same approach they use.
Well, the state
no
governor...
evidence, no information about them using other modes of transport.
Right. Well, the state governor, I mean, initiated this peace initiative such that there's some form of negotiation, if I can use that term, between the bandits and the government. So abductors, or abductees rather, are released by the bandits, and then arrested bandits are released such that they meet halfway. So how come this initiative has not worked in trying to get these students released?
Yes. Well, I just also got the information from you and from another source that contact was established after we left Zamfara. I mean, after we left Katsina yesterday. Of course, once contact is made, there are lots of things that go into it. From what I understand, by the way it was handled before, previously there had been issue of negotiating with the bandits in some states like Zamfara, Katsina, and they will pay something and then they will say they will not attack again. So if that is what there is going on now, of course, it may not be a 1 hour or 2 hours thing. If he reported this morning that, look, he has made contact with them, there may be other things that both parties will be looking at. I believe that is what should be delaying them on their own part. And like you asked earlier on, that does not stop what we are doing to, conduct a decisive action so that the children will come out unharmed.
Well, General Enenche, the question now will be, did we learn from the Chibok kidnapping, the Dapchi kidnapping? We've had some other kidnappings across schools in the northern region. And I recall after that Chibok episode, we began this Safe School initiative. In fact, the Ministry of Defense Education Corps is a member of the Safe Schools Declaration Subcommittee. And, broadly speaking, we're meant to provide some necessary, provisions like security, perimeter fencing, training for teachers and students. Was all that in place? Because from what we're seeing, it will seem that we dropped the ball in that regard.
Yes, the Safe School initiative, from the briefing we got yesterday, I think it was there on the ground. But you see, when the threat changes, as it were, the deployed policemen, particularly, you know, in that area, it will please us to know that we were told that it has been a difficulty in actually encouraging people to send their children to school. And now that you have sent them to school, you cannot protect them. So at the onset, when Operation Sahel Sanity came in to support Operation Katsina and Accord, the first responders in this regard, the police, they actually deployed policemen, armed policemen, to provide security at most of these schools. And for this particular school, it was in place. Of course, it was weighed, putting 2 policemen there was weighed against the threat perception. And then tying it up with the fact that you have the support of the military that provides the confidence-building patrol around the whole general area in the daytime, and then the farm patrol for people to harvest farms and then farm. So it is with that understanding that I will say that, yes, the Safe School Initiative, yeah, the security was provided. But, of course, you know that these people also, the enemies of this country in that regard, they also have their own ways of operating, and also we have to be able to say, look, this is what we can do to achieve our aim. And that is what was happened. And like I said, that it was in place. After that, it was reviewed, even yesterday. And the strength of the security being provided for the various schools where they have guards, where they have children in boarding school, was beefed up by the Nigerian police.
Right.
So, in principle and in a way, the Safe School Initiative is being implemented there.
Because, the questions are 2 policemen enough to secure such school as we have seen now? Clearly, we need to review that. But on a final note, General, I'd like to ask you, because it seems we have moved on from this, are we still negotiating for the release of Leah Sharibu?
Well, I'm not aware of that. You know, as it were, I was asked that question was it months ago or years ago, even as far back as when. And like I told the general public that if there was such a thing, it was not to my knowledge. And that is, like, I coordinate defense military operations. Anything above that level is because this one is now at the level that, I know. And I was there yesterday. And even the negotiation is not within what I know, like I saw it on your news bar. That was where I gathered that information from. But I had to make contact with my people in the field. When I made contact with the theater command, Operation Lafia Adole, as it were then, they had nothing to tell me about negotiation about Leah Sharibu. And of course, like I said, if it was being done, then it is at a higher strategic level beyond my own level.
All right. Major General John Inenche, would like to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and we wish you the very best in this rescue operation, and we'll definitely be staying with you to get the latest on that one.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, as we keep our fingers crossed and hope for the very best, that's all we can take on the program for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Kikelu. Bye for now.